Outside the Box Reviews, we're taking a look at the NECA Pacific Rim Wave 6 Horizon Brave figure. Horizon Brave is yet another Mark I Jaeger. It has a very small cameo in Pacific Rim, and honestly, I just can't believe that we're getting a Horizon Brave figure. When the Pacific Rim line first started, I thought, oh, we'll be lucky if Cherno Alpha gets made as an action figure, and yeah, now we're sitting here looking at these obscure Jaegers that barely cameoed in the film, and the line looks like it's gonna keep going, so that's pretty crazy. I almost wonder at this point if the toy line is more successful than the movie. And Horizon Brave does not have any accessories, but it does have an action feature. Up here on the top we have its dual missiles. They're painted a nice goldish brass color. We got the little four-leaf clover on each side, and we got some vents sticking out of the side. Now if we press in on those vents, not the most impressive missile firing effect, but they do fire. And NECA's even gone so far as to do some detailing on the inside of the missile, the part that you won't see until it's shot. So I think it's a pretty nice touch. Then you just pop the missiles right back inside. Very easy, and they fit right back in the Jaeger. And I love that it's not a very obvious gimmick, but it's there. The head on Horizon Brave is barely a head. It's a box with a little green circle on the front, but very nicely detailed. We have a bunch of little panel lines and some little black bits, and I guess this must be like a peripheral view on the side here, the extra little green bits on the edges. See, there's a nice paint wash on the tan over top of these missile pods, giving a bit of a dirty look. And then around the back, we see the back end of the whole missile system. Looking really cool. And there's some more kind of metallic detailing back here, different little bits and pieces on Horizon Brave's back. Little tank here on the side. Very nicely done. A great silver drive brushing to really make him look worn and used and just having endured all this battle. You can get some big kind of vent armor pieces back here too. More of that black and brown shading over top of the tan armor, just to make it look very used. Horizon Brave has this kind of big piece around its neck here. Really nice, some nice kind of slats in there for detail. All this very, very tiny painted detail, the number 3. Just a lot of cool panel lines showing up on it. The torso has these big old vents coming out of it, which is very nice. More of that green color that we see in the eye put down here. We've got some little yellow highlights that must be lights or something. Shoulders are very neat looking. I love the mechanical look here where it's kind of jagged and irregular. And they do a pretty good job trying to hide the joints here. We got the big hinge here at the elbow. And a very cool looking hand. We got some stripes around the forearm there. And then the big flat fingers that seem to be consistent on all Mark I Jaegers. And it's an interesting hand shape. It's like the fingers are clenched, but it can't really make a fist. So it's like universal design without being a very practical design for anything. It's not really grabbing, it's not making a fist, but it kind of looks cool. It's got this big robot cod piece down there. And then here at the lower body, we lose all the kind of cool curvy metalwork, and we get these big boxy legs. We got a 3 on the one side. These are very dirty, and big hinges for his knees. Very boxy lower legs with a lot of big panel lines. And then the coolest looking toes. These are really neat looking. It's got a bunch of different treads. It looks like it would kind of be used to stabilize it side to side. Now, I'm going to say this here, these are not articulated. They're articulated just like a normal foot, so don't try to move these toes individually, you could end up breaking them. But very cool, there are peg holes underneath. And then coming around here, there is a very, very large plate over his butt. For articulation, Horizon Brave has a ball joint at the neck. It actually has a lot more range than I thought. You can go decently down. Up is limited because it hits the back of this missile launcher here. The missile launcher is detachable, but there's still sculpted pieces and sculpted detail underneath. So you really just can't bring the head back any further than that. It will go decently side to side. Of course, it's not really practical to go too far to the side because just be looking at the missile pod, but you really do get a good range of motion out of this head. The arms, also really well articulated. Pin and socket joints, you can get a full 360. You have to kind of bring it out a little bit because of the shape of the shoulder, but not too bad. You get a great ability to move the arm upwards to the side. A really, really good range of motion there. We have a cut joint at the upper bicep with a fantastic range of motion. The elbow is pretty limited. You can't bring it in too far, but it will bend way, way backwards. So it's kind of a bummer that it won't go the direction you probably want it to go, but it does have a big range of motion, and you can see it is using a ratcheting joint in there, so these aren't going to get loose on you really quickly or anything like that. Then the wrist is on a ball joint. It's nice that the cut of the hand kind of follows the cut of the arm itself, but you do get a really good range. It does get a little wonky when you turn it extremes to the side and does tend to pop out, but you can get a pretty good range out of this as well. Down here at the mid-torso, there is a huge joint here where you can move them pretty far forward and very far back. You can also swivel there. The legs are on a ball joint system, so they'll go very far forward and back and a little bit out to the side. Some of the double ball joint systems, so you really can get a pretty good range in the legs. Get a very nice hinge in the knee, a really good range of motion there. And then a ball joint at the foot, that's pretty hindered, especially because these toes can tend to move and feel like they're going to break before you actually move the foot. Probably best to move it by this back section here. You could move side to side and pivot, but there's really not much because of the sculpt of that leg. For a size comparison, here's Horizon Brave next to a standard kaiju body, or at least a very common kaiju body used for axe head here on the left, and then our new Gypsy Danger on the right. I think this fits pretty well. It's definitely a shorter Jaeger, but I feel like that's kind of appropriate. It has that very stocky build to it. And I think it works pretty well with the rest of your Pacific Rim display. And I really, really like Horizon Brave here. I think it's a great addition to the Jaegers in your Pacific Rim line. We kind of exist in this weird spot with the Pacific Rim line where the Mark I Jaegers are the better built figures, besides Gypsy at least. And the more advanced models that in the movie universe came later on were the first figures made, and they're lacking compared to these Mark I Jaegers. But as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm amazed NECA has made it this far with the line. I am absolutely thrilled they have, because figures like this get a very high recommend from me. I think this figure is really cool for what it is. It has amazing articulation, which I never really expected. The detailing on it is great. And even if you're not a Pacific Rim fan, if you just want to collect mechs, cool looking giant robots, or I guess they don't have to be giant robots, this is just cool looking in that respect. I love the boxy looking legs. I love the kind of semi artistically done upper torso to it, where there's a lot more curves and things going on in the middle. I love the goofy boxy head that's just so old school robot to me. I didn't need the missile firing mechanism. I'll probably never ever use that again, but it's kind of neat that it's there. It doesn't detract from the figure at all, which I think is the most important part to me. But yeah, Horizon Brave gets a high recommend. I just really, really enjoy this little figure. And that technically covers all of Pacific Rim Wave 6. Now, I don't think we have an announcement for Wave 7 yet, but we do know there is a flying form of Otachi coming out in just a few months. Very excited to pick that one up. I love the ground Otachi, and I'm very much looking forward to the air version. There's also a convention exclusive pack that's half toy, half prop replica from the beginning of Pacific Rim, where you see a kid with a bunch of little Jaeger and Kaiju action figures on his shelf. NECA's actually making those. And that will be not just a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, but multiple conventions, and it will be available to people not going to the conventions, because NECA is awesome like that. And we have heard that they are going to redo some of the other Jaegers. I think they're doing Striker Eureka first, doing a redo on him. And I know they showed another Jaeger in design, and I can't remember which one it is offhand. I remember it's the one that's featured in the Tales from Year Zero prequel comic, and I think it is in the movie, but I cannot remember the name for the life of me right now, so maybe somebody can remind me in the comments. And then there is one more Pacific Rim figure that came out at the same time as these two, and I'll be reviewing that one next. But in the meantime, make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also follow me on Facebook, link below. And until next time, Outside the Box Reviews, stay tuned for more to come.